Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Real Estate Show, coming your way here for the month of April. We're live on April 12th, coming from the Digital Media Center here at Southern Oregon University. Good evening. I'm Joe Brett. I'm a broker with John L. Scott, and this is Pete Belcastro.
We're also a broker with John L. Scott. Hey, we get together with you once a month here on Rogue Valley Community Television to talk about real estate-related issues facing Jackson and Josephine County. You know, we're in April now, which is, of course, right in the middle of the three busiest real estate months of the year. And in our first part of our show tonight, do the stats bear that out? And you're going to go over some of that stuff, Joe, with our guest tonight. And it's really interesting. Listings are down, sales are up, you know, there's a lot going on in what's really turning out to be a pretty interesting and busy spring real estate market.
Yeah, we're selling homes, those that are on the market that we have to sell. And inventory continues to be a significant issue. If you're a buyer out there, you're having to work really hard, fight hard for the offers that you put in, and it's tough to find that right property.
Now, in our second part of our show tonight, the Southern Oregon Land Conservancy will be here, and we're going to talk about some of the ways that rural landowners can, you know, use conservation easements to support wildlife, giving properties, selling properties to the Conservancy, including a huge ranch, you know, out along the Rogue River that we're going to talk about with them as well. It's a fascinating story, and you'd be so surprised at the number of beautiful properties that have been preserved through the Southern Oregon Land Conservancy. We'll talk about them in our second segment tonight.
Really important work because there's not that much of that pristine land out there to be had.
Hey, it's April. Get ready. The Real Estate Show starts next here on RVTV.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Rogue Valley Community Television. It's the April edition of the Real Estate Show. Great to have you along this evening. Segment number one, as usual, is going to be our Market Watch segment, and lots of interesting numbers to track and trends that we're going to bring out in this segment for you. And we've got a great panel lined up for you just to do that for you. And we're going to start to my left with Jeffrey Nagel. He's a broker with John L. Scott here in Ashland. And Jeffrey, returning to the program, welcome back.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Right, you brought some great information last time. We thought, sign him back up and bring him back for more. So we had you out there in the front lines for a couple of months. We're anxious to hear what you've been learning.
Looking forward to reporting.
Been very busy. Brad Bennington, the CEO of the Southern Oregon Builders Association. Welcome, Brad.
Howdy, Joe.
Yep, busy spring for the home builders as well.
Boy, howdy. Yeah. Pedal to the metal.
Yep. Going as fast as we can, and there is a huge demand out there.
Yes, sir.
For your products.
Somebody's got to build that stuff you sell.
Yeah, because they're buying it.
Yes, they are.
Lining up to get it bought. And Guy Giles from Bank 34 Mortgage, our lending expert. Welcome back, Guy.
Hey, thanks.
As we stay busy, you stay busy.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't work enough hours right now.
Right.
So I've been blessed.
Write it as fast as you can. Well, I guess you type it these days.
2 fingers.
You get them,
You're
get
giving me
them up
credit
there,
with
get
all
them
the
through
fingers
there,
moving
and get them going. But yeah, but very important. People be pre-qualified, be ready to go when they hit the streets these days because it's a very competitive market. clients, I'm sure, are finding.
You have to be fast. You're right.
Got to get with it. Let's start with just a snapshot. We've got a good breakdown of statistics from the Southern Oregon Multiple Listing Service that we're going to share with you. But before we do that, let's just get a feel for the market from all three of your perspectives. Starting with you, Jeffrey, out there in the streets, you're buying and selling homes with your clients on a daily basis. And what has the spring brought you, and what type of activity have you been involved in?
Well, the exciting thing right now is that there's actually houses for sale. It seemed like for several months we had plenty of buyers lined up and not much coming on the market. I'm sure your statistics will bear that out. And so we're really excited. In the last 2 weeks, we've seen a lot more listings hit the market, and that has been fantastic for our buyers. Seeing that inventory loosen up a little bit is making a big difference.
It really does. And, you know, we peak every morning when the new stats come out, and those numbers have been up in the 20s and the 30s almost on a daily basis for those new listings. It's really encouraging to see.
Which is great, since a month or two ago we were seeing them in the teens.
Yeah, and the inventory has not been keeping up, new inventory, with the inventory that's been going off the market. So we still have a relative shortage that we're dealing with in inventory.
That's correct.
And we're working on that. And part of the way we're working on that is building new homes. And what things looking like with the Southern Oregon Builders?
Building new everything. You know, I mean, we've got home construction, and we've talked about this a lot. Home construction, our builders are out there just running wide open. They're snapping up all the skilled labor that they can. You know, there's tremendous demand. You know, thanks to Guy, you know, we've got affordable lending, so people can go out there and they can get money that's very reasonably priced. So that's great. That's all great. And on the commercial side, you know, we've got, you know, Costco. They want to build a new store. So there's lots of demand. People coming to Southern Oregon like crazy. We just got to bring more land in. So it's all about having the buildable land so that people can, you know, can buy it, can build. You can buy the existing, and you're going to talk about these stats a little bit, but so there are existing homes that you can buy, right? But, you know, once you're out of existing homes, you're kind of stuck until we build some new homes.
Right.
And so that's what we're trying to do, as quickly and as efficiently as we can.
Northgate is another big commercial project that's moving some dirt out there now. Do our local guys get in on those jobs, or is that mostly outside companies that come in?
There, you know, there's a lot of local guys that get jobs there, and the really funny thing is right now is that you know, back in the day, the big drain, you know, were the metro areas like Portland, and right now we have local contractors like Adroit, S&B James, and Batzer that are actually paying a premium to bring skilled labor into our market to satisfy the demand for new construction. So yeah, the Northgate, that project is really a good sized project. And so, and compared to the size of our market, you know, you got to remember, you know, Jackson County only has about 5% of the population of Oregon in it. So and Medford's about 80,000 people. So for the size of our market, we've really ramped up construction activity, and our building officials are running hard to keep up with it.
Yeah, that, as you know, in the planning department, and the county's not as busy as the cities are, but there's a lot of activity right now.
There is.
And a lot in the works that's coming down the pipeline.
Oh my.
Which is great news for lenders, because that keeps you know, commercial loans, residential loans, lots, new construction loans, anything and everything. You know, people are looking at all those options right now with the somewhat limited inventory and options that are out there.
Yeah, I've had a lot of them lately just coming to me and saying they're having trouble finding a house, which is good. There's a few more on the market right now, but they're talking about building. I mean, a lot more than I've had in a long time. So we're always dealing with some construction. We've had a little bit more tick up, you know, in the last year or so, but right now I'm having a lot of people say, you know what, I just can't find what I want, and I'm going to go try to build it. So, you know, it's just I know, changing a little bit, but there's still a ton of people coming, and the rates are really good.
Yeah.
So,
and interest rates continue to make it an affordable option right now. I mean,
yeah,
we keep saying at some point, you know, that ship is going to sail, but it still remains a really good time to take a look at that option to buy a home.
Yeah, the Fed came out and they were still a little bit dovish about raising rates, so I think that we're going to have okay for a little while now. Still. I don't know when. You're right. It's going to have to happen. I mean, it's even healthy, believe it or not, for it to go up eventually. But we're not there yet, so we'll take them. I've been doing a lot of veterans loans, and we're locking them in the low threes right now, like 3.2, 3.3.
Wow.
Just all day long without paying points. And I can't quote an exact rate without an APR legally, so I don't, but it's pretty amazing where these rates, and that's for the USDA and FHA also are right down in there. So they're good.
It's a really good time to take a look at the option. If you are considering, or if you're a renter, you may be able to put yourself into a house for about what you're paying in your rent. Sometimes you even come out ahead in that game, and you're owning and on your way to some really good things. Helping got a lot of buyers lined up. How do you work them through that process of just keeping them patient and not getting frustrated with the tight inventory?
Well, you know, it's been an interesting process. One of the things that's been happening a lot is people are starting to look a little deeper into the pool of available homes and starting to reimagine some of those homes. So they're coming in and saying, well, it's not exactly what I want, but maybe if I remodel the kitchen, maybe if I add something here or move something there. So I'm involved in a consortium of architects and designers and contractors, and they're being kept very busy remodeling homes. A lot of folks buying and getting a 203K or a rehab loan and getting a little extra money to remodel that home into the dream home they want.
Yeah, interesting. It has a couple of things. It's just one or two things short of what their dream home was. A lot of times they can go in there and make that happen for themselves.
That's the advice I give a lot of my buyers.
Yeah.
Is don't look for your dream home. Look for the house that can become your dream home. If we find the dream home, great. If not, let's make it.
Yep, may get you close and let you finish it from there.
That's right.
That's good work. And real quickly before we go to our market watch, Brad, what are the forces like outside the dynamics, outside the new construction industry? You were looking at some materials that were going up there, and
Yeah.
how's the 50,000 foot view of new home construction?
Yeah. So here in Oregon, we have kind of an unusual situation because of the legislative initiatives that have just gone through. So, you know, mandatory inclusionary zoning, it's supposedly going to create some affordable housing, but it's like squeezing a balloon. You squeeze it over here and it blows it up over here, right? So that's actually going to increase the cost of most other housing to a certain extent, and that's unavoidable. So that's a driver on the cost end. As far as the actual materials go, we've got good availability of structural lumber products, so we're in good shape that way. Right now we're benefiting from really low fuel costs, so everything that goes into a house got there on the back of a truck. So fuel costs are very important to construction costs. Right now fuel costs are low, so that's really helpful. Offsetting that though is we have some really substantial drivers that are coming in on legislative stuff on what we call MSDS, material safety data. You know, the EPA is continually reevaluating materials and classifying things as more or less toxic, and every time that happens, then you've got a whole new set of rules that you have to handle this or that or the other. One of the things that we have to deal with now, believe it or not, is dust. So it's called silica, and it's also called commonly dust, but dust that comes from just, you know, normal having rocks rub against each other and cutting concrete, whatnot. So OSHA has just come out with a whole new set of rules on how we deal with drilling holes in concrete and cutting concrete, and so all the jobs that have to do with cutting concrete and drilling concrete, those are all now going to get more expensive because of these new rules that we have to observe while we're doing it. So as far as the actual cost of the materials, we've got drivers that are going to things like PVC pipe, copper wiring. You're going to see modest increases over the course of the next year. Not horrible. As long as the cost of fuel stay down, that's going to be helpful. But the main thing that you want to do is you want to act quickly because of really what Jeff is talking about. What we know is that we're really in a crunch for a supply of buildable land.
Yep.
It's not like we're out of land. There's plenty of land here to build on, but getting that land into a form that you can actually put a lot and build a house on it, we're in kind of a crunch right now, and until we get that taken care of, there's gonna, you know, so if you can find that piece of land where you want to build your home, boy, that's what you want to do.
Well, that'd be a good option right now. And you mentioned we're good with the wood products. Where are we getting those wood products from? Are they from the Northwest, or? Please don't tell me they've been sent to China and brought back, processed over there.
No, I'm not going to tell you that, but I will say that in terms of you know, most of the wood that we use for framing is softwood. You know, a lot of it's American softwood. So We actually have right here in Medford, in White City, we have a Boise Cascade, and they have manufactured wood products, all the, what we call BCIs, the manufactured, they look like a wood I-beam. Those are actually wood products that are manufactured from, from wood fiber. And so those are, a lot of that is local material, believe it or not. But in terms of dimensional lumber, believe it or not, a lot of it's coming out of Canada. So we've got a good supply of softwood, and for now we do, and it's reasonably priced. And so that's one of the bright spots that we have in home construction right now, and construction in general.
Good stuff. Good to know. And it's always just nice to know the other factors that come in that kind of move the market and kind of the dynamics that make it all happen and create the bottom line that it's the purchase price we're going to have for folks to buy or sell.
Yes.
Good things. Let's go ahead and take a look at our numbers for the Market Watch. And we're going to start just with a snapshot of March over March. But first, a quick peek back to the home show. Brad loves this
Boy,
picture.
look at those old guys.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a great turnout at the Southern Oregon Home Show. They're already planning for next year, I imagine. Brad, get back out there.
We are, yeah. We're going to be 2/3 of the way through February again. We had, I'm sure it was just because you and Pete were there, but we had such a great response from the public. The biggest problem we had was we didn't have enough parking spaces out in the parking lot. Honestly, we had people that came, couldn't find. But the vendors had a great time. The people that came had a great time. Wonderful response all the way around. And all I can tell you is an awful lot of people came and bought an awful lot of products to make their homes nicer and better.
Pete must have had a good time because he put that slide right up front for us. Remember it one more time. And our stats start tonight with a look at March of 2015 compared to March of 2016. So this is just a 1-month snapshot last year to this year. The pending sales are up from 2015 by 25%, but the new listings are still down 2.5%. So we're getting homes into contract. We're not replenishing that supply very well. The days on the market is down pretty dramatically. Jeffrey, what do you make of that? Because that is, in a 1 year, month over month for a 1 year snapshot, that's a pretty significant change and pretty quick activity to get homes sold.
I'm not surprised by that at all. What's really been going on is the number of properties for sale has been low, number of buyers has been high. They've been snapping up a lot of the properties that normally would have sat on the market for a long time. And when inventory drops and the number of buyers is still the same, those properties are going to go fast. We're seeing a lot of properties getting multiple offers.
Yeah, that number right there, that days on the market number, really reflects the pressure that's on the available inventory here in Southern Oregon. List price versus sales price, that continues to creep up. That 95.1% means sellers are getting roughly 95% of what their asking price is when they list their house. The available homes per buyer, here's another one that's kind of like that days on the market. Boy, 3.9. A normal supply is about 6 months. So you can see we're at 5 months supply a year ago. We've dropped that by 22% now to 2016. Again, that just reemphasizes that need for inventory.
Absolutely.
And gives us some hope that the new homes are getting built, and we do have some new listings that are coming on the market to meet that demand. Monthly supply, boy, 2.3. We were concerned a year ago when it was at 3.7. Again, a 6-month supply is a relatively normal market, so to speak. So down to 2.3 again, that's really slim. That's as slim as probably I've ever seen in the nearly 10 years we've been in. That's as tight of inventory as almost you could imagine.
Well, and that's great if you're a seller,
Yeah.
but not so great if you're a young family starting out and maybe have limited economic means, because that means there's a lot of upward pressure on those prices. It becomes difficult for some families to afford to buy a house.
Yeah, it does, and prices have been moving as a result of that inventory. Guy, I bet you're writing loans for reflecting that increase in the market.
Yeah, I was thinking about that on the way over here. I have a lot of people that are pre-qualified, and if you're trying to buy in East Medford or, heaven forbid, Ashland, and you're, $250,000 and under, you're running into trouble finding something that you can get into. And I'm actually looking for a house myself, and I think I've settled on building one because I'm having an issue.
Good choice.
Doing the whole thing. And I do worry about the first-time home buyers. They're getting a little bit priced out of it, and I don't know what'll reverse it. Maybe we can do something to get some decent jobs around here or something. You know, I don't know.
That would help us a lot.
But there's a lot of young, responsible people that have done it right too, and they're really ready to buy and really qualified. So there's a mix.
Yeah, and kind of to underscore your point, Jeffrey, that 2.3 month supply in the $100,000 to $250,000 range, it's far less than that. It's down.
It's
less than a month's supply.
It's a month or less, and I'm sure Brad would tell us that as soon as you build it, it's sold. Is that right?
At the right price point, that's absolutely in terms of, you know, whether it's a custom home or a spec. If you're building a spec home, if you're anywhere in the 250 to 300 range, you know, as soon as it's finalized out, and one of you hard-working realtors shows it to somebody, well, there you go. There's your answer right there.
Yeah.
It's sold.
It's moving. I just saw one, a brand new home on the Twin Creeks area. It was 4 days on the market pending. It's not even built. I mean, it's just it's just the plans and the photos for illustrative purposes only. But man alive, it got up and it was gone. 89, not even done, not even occupant ready, and it's sold and ready to go. And key box activity reflects almost 9,000 showings there for the month of March. So yep, we're not golfing a lot these days. It's not a lot of time outside of the streets. Existing home sales for Jackson County. This is a 3-month snapshot, 2015 to 2016. We're looking at the months of January, February, and March. We sold about 50 more homes in 2016 than we did in 2015. Again, the days on the market, significant reduction in days on the market there. Median price not up that much, 2.3%. Any surprises in those numbers?
I would have thought the median price would be up a little bit more than that, to be honest.
I would have thought so too.
So, I don't know. Some people buy some cheaper ones, I guess. Another thing I'm seeing is a lot of refinances. People are finally to the point where they have a little equity in their house, and they're calling up to do that. And we actually had a couple take us out to lunch today that we just got closed on that have been wanting to do it for years and just weren't able to. And we closed them last week, and there's just, I think people will be pleasantly surprised, even though that's not really reflecting it there, what their house is actually worth compared to what it was.
Yeah,
so
I'd say just, yeah.
Well, speaking of equity, I'm looking at the last line there, up 55% from 2011.
Right.
You know, you always hear on the radio stations, oh, you should buy gold, it's going to appreciate so much. I think, Brad, I think you're making gold out there. Because I don't know anything else that's appreciating 55% in 5 years.
Well, wait till we get to the new home prices. So yeah, just in your mind, just kind of put a little bookmark in your brain there at that $5,000 on the median between 15 and 16,
right.
And keep in mind this: these are existing homes, right? So these are people, these are homes that are being sold, pre-existing homes, and ask yourself, like, what kind of reasons might people be selling these homes for? Because odds are they're not moving out of the area. These are, I'm just going to speculate and say and guess that a lot of these homes that are being sold at a time when the owners are saying, you know what, this might be a good time to sell this home and finally buy our dream home, or buy where we're going to retire, or move out there to Twin Creeks, or whatever that might be. So the variant, you know, Guy mentioned, you know, he's kind of surprised that the prices, you know, weren't higher. I don't think most of these homes that are selling are the super custom. I mean, obviously they're not.
Right.
So it's kind of a snapshot of this certain band of housing. But watch what happens when you go to your new home slide. Big difference.
New construction.
Yeah, yeah. So we've got, now it's showing that the median is down, but actually, again, we got a little bit of financial banding going on. For instance, I'll mention some of the, you know, our friend Travis Snyder that has Snyder Creek Homes. He got a screaming deal on some really affordable lots out in Eagle Point, and he is actually building these beautiful brand new homes, honest to gosh, beautiful brand new home that he's selling for around $250,000.
Yeah, and they are. I showed one at the
and
tour
you
of
showed
homes last
one,
year.
and they've got granite countertops and great carpet and beautiful, and just they're really, really nice because he got a screaming deal on the dirt. At the same time, you go over there in East Medford and you look at the product that Polish and Mahar and some of these other builders are building, and you're up in the mid-3s and mid-4 range.
Yeah.
And they can't build them fast enough. I mean, you go over there to East Medford, over there in Summerfield, there where the various brands of the Mahars are,
Right.
there's a lot of Mahars out there building. They're all good builders, yeah. So that's how you know you're one of God's chosen people, is your last name is Mahar. But anyway, they're just building like crazy out there. You can't put the streets in fast enough. They can't put the utilities in fast enough, and people are just showing up and let me write you a check. And these are in the 3.5 to 4.5 range. So and they're you can't find them. It's like hey, I want to buy a house. Okay, well we'll get to you as soon as we can. Hang on.
If we look at this a year from now, that snapshot, you think that median price will reflect that, because you're going to sell from this year to next year. You're going to sell more of those higher end new homes, and more of those are going to come into play on the market.
Yeah, and it's going to keep moving up. And again, the bottom line that Jeff was talking about earlier, up 52% from 2011. The one where it shows down 6.2% from 2015. Again, you got to be careful with what you're looking at, because it's the mix of homes that you're looking at there. But I promise you that you're going to see a substantial increase. 12 months from now, you're going to see a substantial increase in the cost of new homes for a lot of different reasons. And people that are buying homes now are going to be really, really happy they did.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of first-time home buyers who are getting financial assistance from their parents. And if you're a parent in your 50s or 60s looking at your kids and thinking, how can I pass the legacy on to them? If you've got an extra $10,000 lying around and you can help them get into a home, that is one of the greatest things you can do. Because again, look at this appreciation. Yeah. There's no other way you could help your kids out and have that kind of impact than to help them out getting into a home. Yeah. Guy, do you see a lot of buyers coming in with help from family or friends?
Well, it's a great program, and it kind of comes in spurts. I haven't lately, but yeah, you can do gift funds from family members, and it is a great way, because like you said, when you guys were talking about gold and earlier, I'm thinking about my precious metals that I've bought as investments over the last couple of years, and I wish they were doing even kind of as good as this real estate market is right now. So yeah, if you can help your kids, do something, I think it's a really good way to go. And yeah, you can do gift funds, and Fannie and Freddie are both allowing that now. So.
And it is not the time or the place for first-time home buyers and buyers with very tight budget to go asking for closing costs or any kind of help from the sellers to close the transaction. You need to be ready to pay your full freight if you're going to get into contract, because they don't have to make those concessions, where a few years ago when they were really trying to get their homes moved, they were a little more amenable to helping the buyers get in there. Probably not the case now.
You can ask, but a lot of times they're just saying no.
Yep. And if you're in a multiple offers,
forget it.
That just subtracts from the bottom line and just doesn't help your chances if you can't go all the way, like those other folks will. Rural property sales, pretty big jump from 2015 to 2016. Again, this is just a 3-month snapshot, January, February, and March, and from 39 to 61 sales under 5 acres, a few more in the 5 to 10 acres, and 10 acres and above. Pretty consistent, but the rural sales continues to be a lot of pressure on those, Jeff.
Well, I actually just listed and sold a rural property here just this weekend. And we literally had 15 showings in 2 days and 9 offers.
Wow.
And we came in well above the asking price. Yeah. There's a lot of pent-up demand.
There is. A lot of people want that open space and want that country feel. And they're coming. They're part of this wave of buyers that are trying to get their way up here.
Well, there's a whole other wave of buyers for these rural properties, thanks to Oregon's new laws relative to marijuana.
Yeah, they are really coming for growing space, and
they certainly are,
for the outdoors in that respect. January, February, March closed transactions continues to be a market that's dominated by happy sales. Only 12% are bank owned, and only 2% of that 12% are short sales. So 94% of the listings in the market are regular sales right about now. Inventory of housing, well, you can see it right there in black and white. We're over 1,000 for March of 2015. We're down to 780 on the market right now, down 26%. It remains a seller's market in Southern Oregon. Any final thoughts, fellas? We're about out of time.
Well, I think it's going to remain a seller's market for a little while. Hopefully you guys can get some houses built and not too much regulation, that you can actually get it done.
What I would suggest to people is that if you're in the market for housing at all, get a builder, get on his list, and find a piece of property, get on that list, because this is the good old days, right? We all look back to the good old days. Well, these are the good old days. The further you go down the timeline from here, We really have a wonderful confluence of low interest rates. We have good availability of land. Contractors are still working very reasonably. We really have some of the, and I'm not just saying this, we have some of the finest and most competitively priced contractors anywhere right here in the Southern Oregon. Wonderfully talented people that work for so in terms of what that means to the consumer, right now you're going to get the best bang for your buck.
Yeah, good stuff. Jeffrey, how can people get a hold of you? Because they're probably saying, that guy sounds like somebody who could help me.
Well, they could give me a call on my cell, 541-414-7903, or come find me in the John L. Scott Ashland office.
Good place to find you. It's a nice little place to work.
I like it.
Tour of Homes coming in September, the largest residential marketing event in Southern Oregon. It's going to be huge, coming up this September.
I'm in.
The Southern Oregon Tour of Homes.
I'm going to host another one
Bang.
and meet a bunch of those buyers out there shopping around.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun last year, actually, and met some really nice folks. Stay tuned, everybody. Segment 1 is over, but Pete Belcastro is standing by. Segment 2 of tonight's real estate show is going to focus on the Southern Oregon Land Conservancy. Stay tuned for that.
Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Show here on Rogue Valley Community Television. I'm Pete Belcastro. You know, one of the things when you talk about real estate, you may wonder all sorts of different topics that come up, and real estate covers so many different things. Tonight, we've really got a cool program lined up with the Southern Oregon Land Conservancy, something I'm sure you didn't know a lot about them, but tonight we're going to hear some of the great stories that they've got to share with us about preserving some of our lands in Jackson and Josephine counties for the future. And let's face it, we're going to be under a lot of pressure in the next decades for land, and well, what better group to help preserve some of this than the Land Conservancy? Two people are here tonight to share their story with us. And Craig Harper is the Conservation Project Manager. You work for the Southern Oregon Land Conservancy, right?
Yeah, I've been there a little over 3 years now.
Yeah, so how does one get a job in the Land Conservancy, Craig? How do you do that?
Well, I moved to the Valley in 1999. I worked for the Rogue Valley Council of Governments for years as a natural resource project program manager, and this job opened up, and I thought, yeah, I think I would like to do that. I applied.
And that's it.
Apply. You never know what'll happen.
And it's got to be pretty satisfying for you. I mean, you got to really like the outdoors and all those kind of things that go with this.
Yeah, it's a real important part of my job is landowner and community relations, and I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoy the job so much is because I deal with so many great people.
Boy, you've got a great story to share with us about the Rogue River Preserve that we'll get to in just a little bit. Eric Poole is a fellow real estate broker here in the Ashland area with Full Circle Real Estate. Nice to have you here on the show for the first time.
Appreciate it.
I mean, brokers it's not just about buying and selling real estate with brokers, as I found certainly. Because you're involved with the Land Conservancy, Eric. What role do you have with that group? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm the vice president on the board, and I've been with them now for 3 years, and it's been great. It's been a fun group. I moved to this area in, I guess it was late '98. Lived here in '93 for a year, but I was attracted to the Southern Oregon from just the beauty of the area, for one, access to trails, access to the outdoors. Not a sprawling environment like some parts of California, for example, and just the natural beauty. So one of the things I felt was important as a real estate agent is how do I help protect that, and that path led me to the Land Conservancy. We're actually members. Our group, Full Circle Real Estate, does 1% for the planet, and that's just a way of we donate 1% of our gross commissions or gross profits to local nonprofits. So we kind of found out about the Southern Oregon Land Conservancy that way, and then one thing led to another, got on the board, and here we are 3 years later.
And here you are.
Yeah.
Well, it's really neat for me to as we interviewed different real estate brokers, all the different passions that people have beyond just selling and buying real estate. And here you're another example of that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that a lot of us or at Full Circle Real Estate say is that we were all drawn here because of how beautiful this area is, and what can we do to help protect that in some way. Like you said, it's going to, we're going to get development, and that's an important part of the economy. But at the same time, how do you protect areas that are spectacular areas that add a lot of value to our region?
Well, it's great to have you both here. Well, think about the issues that are out there with this. The pressure on rural lands right now from wineries, from GMO-free, from recreational marijuana kinds of things that are happening out there.
Sure.
And then you look at the projections when you go to the Rogue Valley Council of Governments, Craig, and they say Jackson County is going to double its population, in the next 20 years. Well, this valley isn't that big, really. Right. And so that brings why I think you're here, that this is the issues that are facing out there for landowners who own private property, right, in rural lands, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we've, our organization's been in existence since 1978, and in that time we've helped protect nearly 10,000 acres mostly in Jackson and Josephine County. But we have conservation easements, and I'll talk a little bit more about those later. We have conservation easements in Douglas and Curry and Lake County, but we really are focused in the Rogue Basin.
In the Rogue Basin now. 10,000 acres have been protected with either easements or right-out ownership
correct.
By the Conservancy.
Yeah,
that's a lot, isn't it? I mean, that's a lot of acres, you think about it.
We have an initiative of Vision 2020 that we'd like to protect 20,000 acres by the year 2020. Right. So we're well on our way to that. At the same time, a long way to go. It's been a nice, since I've even joined, it's fun to see the momentum of more people coming to us with their land and wanting to protect that into the future. And so it's been a fun thing to be part of.
Well, this program is presented by the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, who are a sponsor of our show. And one of the things that I like working with Arvar about is that Craig actually has given a class to real estate brokers about the Land Conservancy. So Ash, that's why he's here tonight. So you're going to kind of share that kind of thing with us, because this information is not just for brokers like Eric and I. It's really for the general public to understand this. So you've got some slides here, so we're going to let Craig kind of take us way through that, and we'll keep commenting as we go along here, because it's really important that you understand what the Land Conservancy is and some of the great projects and things that we're talking about here tonight. Okay, Craig, you got it.
Okay, well, I'll start right here. What you're looking at is one of our current initiatives. We're attempting to purchase a 352-acre property along the Rogue River with about 2 miles of stream bank. It's a beautiful property owned by the MacArthur family since the 1940s. Okay. And it's got vernal pools, it's got a 140-acre floodplain forest, it has oak woodlands, it's got a elk herd, it's endangered plants and rare birds and other plants. It's an amazing site.
Do you have more photos to show?
I do, yeah.
Go ahead and show all these so we can see what are we talking about?
Well, and first off, this is where we're working. As I mentioned earlier, you know, the Rogue River Basin, mostly Jackson-Josephine counties, which you can see there on that.
Okay.
And there's the protected places, you know, the almost 10,000 acres that we
10,000
protect.
acres are in the red there, the little boxes around there.
63 separate properties all around, you know, the whole southwest Oregon.
I was trying to look at those. Go back for just 1 second,
Okay.
would you? I was trying to think, Eric, they're concentrated, it looks like, in certain areas, more or less. Is that right?
Well, we have a map that kind of designates what we're looking for, and a lot of things what we're looking for is a combination of, you know, it can be a lot of things. It can be, you know, soil and forest and water and that sort of thing. So I think that a lot of what you see is on some of the hillsides around the valley. Obviously, valley floor is important too, but inevitably a lot of the big acreage pieces can be, you know, on the edge of the valley floor. And
So this is all the work that the Conservancy has done, and well, you got a good track record there. You know, you've got things to say. Hey, we've been doing this. Okay, go ahead, Craig.
And we're focusing, you know, right now. We're in Jackson-Josephine County, but we have these focus areas that we're really trying to, you know, work with landowners to a greater degree in some of those areas, and that includes like the Upper Illinois River, Colstein Valley, Siskiyou Summit, Cascade Foothills, you know, here on the east side of the Bear Creek Valley, Rogue Agate Desert areas, Little Butte Creek area, and also Applegate River Valley.
All right, go ahead. Yep, there you go.
So Eric mentioned our Vision 2020 to protect 20,000 acres by 2020. We're working on that, and we have a conservation plan. And all of this information is on our website at landconserve.org. You'll see that address later. But this is getting here to the map of the Rogue River Preserve that I was talking about. That
now, where exactly is this you're talking about? Because I'm trying to place this.
It's that the pink rectangle there, just upstream on the Rogue River, north of Dodge Bridge County Park, north of Dodge Bridge.
North of Dodge,
and downstream of Shady Cove.
from Dodge Bridge, But that's north,
Well, it's actually upstream of Dodge Bridge.
Upstream from Dodge Bridge,
So, you know, it's 352 acres, and it's an incredible property. We applied for a grant for this property from the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board, and we've gotten good news. The staff and the Regional Review Committee both said they recommend to their board of directors that they fund it. We'll find out at the end of this month whether the board agrees with that or not, but we think
now this is the outline of the property.
Yeah, this aerial photo.
And the Rogue River runs along 2 miles of that there. Okay. There's an island in there. That's part of it too, correct?
That's part of it. 16-acre island, yeah.
And that's 300, how many acres is that?
352 acres.
352 acres.
With one house on it currently and one, you know, small caretaker's cabin and a couple of outbuildings. And that's it.
All right, that's it. Gee, that's pretty
amazing
pristine,
spot,
isn't it? Okay, all right.
And I mentioned there's an elk herd that lives on the property, kind of cruises across the river. This is taken by the caretaker, Thomas Craig, guy that lives in the house. The floodplain forest, it's incredible. The river flows through that floodplain forest, and it's like a, you know, and go down there in the summertime, it's like a jungle. You know, the native grapes grow up in the big, tall cottonwoods and oaks and other trees. It's something to see. And then this photograph was taken by a gentleman who discovered he's a raptor specialist, and he's noted that there's a nesting bald eagle that wasn't staying in the nest on an adjacent property, and our land steward, Christy Mergenthaler, she and a friend Frank Lospoluto found the bald eagle was nesting in ponderosa pine on this property, and this spring actually they fledged some baby bald eagles.
Now the land you're looking at there is on the right side of the river, correct? Then the island there, it's all that land on the right side of the river, correct?
That's right.
So it is all sorts of. It was a ranch at one time.
Yeah,
correct?
it's a ranch. They raised some hay on the property, but other than that, it's been lightly grazed for decades. Like
pretty
I said.
Organic place, as I guess.
Yeah, it really is. It's pretty
describe that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, continue on.
Okay. And then these are some of the birds found on the property. There's a affiliated woodpecker there on the bottom with a family, and there are salmon, spring chinook, fall chinook, steelhead, all kinds of fish out in the river that spawn and die, and we found quite a few carcasses around on the banks, and, the bear found
trout. And the bears find them.
Bear find them, yeah, and they carry them up into the woods. And this fall, it was interesting. You walk down there right after spawning. It was pretty stinky, but
wouldn't that be silent? What a great place for people to come and see. I mean, what a neat thing to experience or look at. Okay.
So here's a picture of the river, and right across the river from that is our celebrity spokesman, Patrick Duffy, and his wife Carlin live right up behind those trees.
And Jim Belushi lives somewhere along that, in the old Elks Park, owns the old Elks Park grounds along the river, on the other side of the river too.
Downstream from that, yeah.
That's beautiful, isn't it, though? It really
we have vernal pools, with a lot of kind of endemic species, plants and animals that only live in vernal pools, and very kind of a rare landscape. Got some meadows and rocky scabland there. There's a photograph by Colin Gilly of it's interesting, it's the rare common king snake. I always have to laugh about that, but anyway. Juvenile was found there on the property, which means they're breeding there. And then this is that beautiful kind of flowers that come out in the spring there. It's gorgeous. And there's a lot of birds, and we'll be having public access for the site in a limited way. People can come and do bird watching and some special events and research, all kinds of.
And if you go to our website too, we're having guided hikes, occasionally through that area too. If you have some interest in walking around that property, we
people will, sure.
Yeah, it's a spectacular piece. It's worth checking out, and you can learn a lot about the area.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of buckbrush, chaparral on the property, and we'd like.
Is that native?
It is native.
It is native.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, I always wondered that.
It's a diminishing landscape in the Rogue Valley, and it's something we really want to help protect.
Okay.
And this white fairy poppy is found there. It's a very rare flower found amongst the chaparral. And they have a lot of ash swales there, which are kind of like vernal swales, vernal channels in the springtime and even into the early summertime. Some gentlemen are interested in dragonflies and found different types of dragonflies out there on the property as well. And then this next section, we really want to kind of go from talking about properties that we'd like to acquire to properties that we already have conservation easements on.
Hold the thought there on the easements. I'm going to come back to you for a minute here, just about the Rogue River property before we go to the easements there.
Okay.
So you basically come in. Now you don't own the property right now. You're trying the conservancy. You're trying to buy that 320 acres, correct?
352. Yeah.
352 acres. You're trying to buy it. Okay. Where does that stand right now? And what happens if you don't? I mean, I want you to make sure you get it. But tell me what that story is like. What's going on with that?
Well, we are in the middle of a capital campaign with the community to raise funding through the community, and we also have applied for numerous grants. We have, as I mentioned, a big grant that
you've got one big one coming. So the price of the ranch was $2.4 million, correct? And there was a wonderful article in the Mill Tribune recently about you are going to be getting, it looks like, $1.4 million of that from the state, somewhere in the
from the OWEB grant. Yeah.
Was that a lottery grant? It is a lottery funding.
Yep.
It is a lottery funding. Yeah. Very good, because I'm a lottery retailer, and I'm glad to hear some of that money that the state get is going to something like this.
Yep.
Okay, so you got 1.4 million of that coming. It looks like
presumably,
you have to raise the rest then, correct? Are you under a time limit to do it, or can you do it over a period of years, or not?
We have an agreement to purchase the property with the family that runs through the end of this year, and so we're hoping that we can get the entire 2.4 million, plus some additional funding for stewardship by the end of the year.
Wow.
But that 2.4 million, we have to raise that by the end of 2016.
I love the comments that the state said about this particular piece of property. That I think it was telling you, it's one of the most largest piece that you could ever have, and the diversity of it, etc., was quite remarkable. This would be the crown jewel kind of thing in the conservancy movement to get this piece of property.
I mean, we really feel like it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to get a piece like this, given the size of it and the location and the river frontage. So there's a lot of different people that are behind us. Obviously, fly fishermen or just fishermen in general.
Sure.
People that want to be just be part of and be close to that sort of mix of water and beautiful land and protected land.
So the Southern Oregon Land Conservancy, you can buy some properties, and I'm sure other people have donated properties probably to you over the years. Now the third part we want to say is about conservation easements, because maybe you own a piece of rural property, or you know someone who does, right? And you may want to keep that into an easement of a conservation easement. Does what, Craig, for the property?
Well, it's a legal agreement between the landowner and a land trust, and that's land conservancy, land trust, the same thing.
Okay.
So basically, what conservation easement consists of is a list of activities that are allowed and activities and restrictions on the property. And so, in other words, if someone owns a property and they've taken care of it for decades, and they have tried to bring the forest back to really good habitat for birds and other animals, and they just never want to see it clear cut, they can do that. They can say, we only want to see this sustainably harvested or maintained for ecological purposes, and not for not to see it clear cut.
So you don't necessarily have to donate the land, or you have to buy it, but you put restrictions on the use of the land in the future.
Yeah,
correct?
and that's a good question. So basically, it's still owned by the landowner. It's just like an easement for a road to go through your land. But basically, what it does run with the property. So when you go to sell it, that conservation stays with the property.
It stays with the property
and
forever.
Forever,
correct?
yeah.
Forever.
And really, that's the goal is that homeowner, or that landowner, I should say, works with the Southern Oregon Land Conservancy and kind of craft that easement to do what they want it to do. And ideally, that's protecting the land into the future, long into the future, for generations to come.
It's not a one-size-fit-all approach to an
Correct.
easement. It's about what the landowner specifically wants to do with it, to work within the land trust or this conservancy to get it, right?
Absolutely right. I
Okay.
mean, one of the last things we want to do is to take working lands, take
Right.
them out of
Right.
production. A lot of land trusts, a lot of the work we do is to keep properties actually in production, keep working lands working, as they say.
Yeah, and I sort of say that's one of the great things that I think of the Land Conservancy and like the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District, our own friends, is that it's not about locking it up in the conservation easements. It's about using it wisely, right? For all the different purposes that the land could go. You got some slides to share,
Yeah.
Craig, and go ahead because we're going to run out of time
Okay.
here. So I want to hear, because conservation easements are important. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, we have some great conservation easements and great landowners. One of them is with C2 Ranch up in the Little Butte Creek watershed.
My favorite ranch, it's my favorite places in Jackson County is this place.
And
Okay.
it's a 10,000 acre ranch, but 1,700 acres of it, the kind of the forested hilltops, are under conservation easement, and it's, as we said, they're going to keep that land working and continue to harvest timber there, but not clear cut it.
Okay, all right.
Eagle Mill Farm, just downstream, on Bear Creek,
Yeah.
on the north end of Ashland. Beautiful farm right next to the community, and the owners never wanted to see it developed. They always wanted to see it stay as a farm, so that's got a conservation easement on it.
So
to
the
retain
easement is
that.
for a farm to retain that for the future. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great food comes out of that little
That's
spot
right.
too, doesn't it?
Yeah. And he also loves to have kids come in the fall and pick pumpkins. That's Ron Roth is the owner.
I love
He's-
that.
Yeah, a lot of
I mean,
educational
yeah.
benefits
Yeah.
from it.
Okay.
And, we also have easements on public lands, Jacksonville Woodlands, Orson Todd Woods, Siskiyou Mountain.
Okay. Those are all
Park in Ashland.
those are all conservation easements.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. Okay.
And, really, I guess this is the last photograph I wanted to show. This is kind of the view shed. And one of the things we really want to help protect is that view of open space and that view of nature from our communities. And so that's one of the values that we really value and protect. But we understand that conservation will, as Aldo Leopold said, ultimately boils down to rewarding the private landowner who conserves the public interest. And that's who we deal with. We work mainly with private landowners.
Sure.
And it's a voluntary, flexible process to put property, into conservation easements, and each one of them has some different characteristics, but those things that we protect are natural areas and working lands both.
Yeah, I would assume that people who've done this haven't regretted it. I mean, have you heard any stories about that? I would assume that people who've done this are probably really pleased with what has turned out.
Ultimately, their goal is, again, protection into the future, and you know, they make a decision to do that, and you know, record the easement, and or you know, sell it to someone who's going to do that. Then that's protection, again, long into the future. So ultimately, they're happy about it.
I think landowners that put conservation easements on their properties understand that it may reduce the number of people who'd be interested in buying that property, but the people that do buy it will continue to manage it as the people that are selling it, you know, wish. In other words, you know, if you've protected a property for decades and don't want to see it clear cut, then the next owners understand that when they buy it.
Are there wildlife easements? I mean, are there all different types of things that go with the conservation easements? I mean, are there wildlife spots, or is it just? Tell me how that would. Is that make any sense?
Yeah, you can enhance habitat for all different kinds of wildlife. If you have like the chaparral I showed on the Rogue River Preserve, that's something that a lot of people say, get that chaparral out of the pasture or out of the woodlands, because you know it's better, more grass if you don't have all that chaparral out there, better grazing, or you can grow more conifers if you cut down the chaparral. But there are a lot of species who depend on chaparral and buckbrush. And so, and it's, you know, a diminishing landscape, as I said, diminishing, you know, plant community. So that's one of the things we try to, you know, landowners recognize, and they want to keep that in place.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you're off. I mean, you're doing really well, and I've done different stories over the years with the Land Conservancy, and you've certainly grown in the acreage, and the Rogue Valley, the Rogue River Preserve is what a crowning jewel that would be to get that completed and get your story continued out there, as the pressure on our rural lands is going to continue, and so we really do need to have this available for people who don't want to be involved with that, or who want to do a different route for their properties.
Yeah,
so
sometimes,
good luck to you guys.
thank you. Sometimes people say, well, you know, why do we need land trusts in Oregon? Because we have such strong land use laws in Oregon.
Yeah.
Well, that can change.
Yes.
That can change.
And as you guys said, we all live here because we love this place, and it's such a beautiful place. And we want to make sure that it does not change for the future generations who come to call ourselves Oregonians. Well, you can find the Land Conservancy, Craig. Get the website again that people can go to for that.
It's landconserve.org.
All right, nice to have you here.
Thanks, Pete.
And Eric, nice to visit with you as well. So good luck as Vice President of the Land Conservancy. Well, that'll do it for our show here tonight. If we can go back to the quick slides for just a minute to give you a quick update for you as well. We want you to know that, of course, we're on Charter Channel here, Channel 180 and Channel 9 on KMED AM 1440 as well. The Rogue Valley Food and Wine Classic was a huge hit, by the way. And of course, we'll see you on the radio 11 a.m. on KMED. That'll do it for the Real Estate Show. Thanks to our student crew here at SOU for their support of tonight's show. Have a great week, everybody, and God bless.